Hello, class. Sorry I couldn't be with you. Hope you did well on the quiz. I just wanted to go over the quiz with you and just show you how you should have done it. My name is Mr. Alvey. All right, so the first one, you get to read it, and we have a mystery function. We have two parameters, one named nums, one named x. Okay, this function is going to get called twice. On the first call, nums is going to receive this list, and x is going to be 4. Okay, so we call the function, we go into the function, and the first thing that happens is we create a new list. Okay, so I'll keep track of new list right here. Now remember, it's a list, not a string, not a number, it's a list. It's going to have multiple things in it. Now we have the variable I equal to 0. We'll keep track of I over here. I starts at 0. All right, so we've learned while loops now. And while loops are much more flexible than for loops, but things don't get done automatically, but we can ask more complicated questions and end the while loops in lots of different ways. Okay, so we have to look at this while loop has two parts. This condition has to be true, and this condition has to be true. So let's look at this. I, which is 0, is that less than the length of nums? Nums is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The length of nums is 6. Is 0 less than 6? That is true. Okay, so first that side's true. So in order for this entire thing to be true, this and this have to be true. So this needs to be true if it's going to do these lines of code. All right, let's look closer at this. Nums, position I. I is 0. Nums position 0. I'll put the positions there so you can see them. Nums position 0 is a 3. Is 3 less than x? X is 4. Is 3 less than 4? That is also true. So it will perform these next two lines. New list dot append. So we're going to be adding something to the list. What is the something we're adding to the list? Nums position I. I is still 0. At position 0, it's a 3. So we're adding a 3 to the new list. Okay, so we add a 3 to the list. Now I is 1. Is 1 less than the length of nums? The length of nums was 6. Okay, so that is still true. Is nums position I, so I is now 1. Nums position 1 is a 2. Okay, so 2 on the left, and x is 4. Is 2 less than 4? Keep looping. New list dot append nums position 1, because that's what's inside I. Nums position 1 was a 2. So we add 2 to the list. Okay, and then we add 1 to I. And we come back up here, we check it again. 2 is less than 6, that's true. And is nums position 2 less than 4? Nums position 2 is a 4. Is 4 less than 4? False. So we do not do this anymore. The loop is over. The whole condition is false. True and false is false. So now we skip the while loop. The while loop is done, and we return new list. The new list only had 3 and 2 in it. So the first call was the list 3, 2. Okay, and if we think about what was going on, this first part of the condition was just making sure that I didn't go out of bounds. We had to make sure that I didn't go past 5 so that the list didn't get indexed out of bounds, which would be an error. And then the other condition is that the number at the next position is less than the x value. So we just keep going until we find a number that is not less than that number. So I could generalize this, or not generalize it, but I can do this a little faster in my head now that I know what's going on. So next call to mystery is using this list, giving that to nums, and x is now 3. So if it works the same as it did before, we're going to make sure not to go out of bounds, and we're just going to keep going until we find a number that is not less than 3. Let's see, 1's less than 3, 2's less than 3, 2's less than 3, but 3 is not less than 3. So each one of these numbers will get added to the list, 1, 2, and 2. We can do that a little faster. We know the process this time. So we just keep going, make sure we don't go out of bounds until we find a number that is not less than x. So the next one is 1, 2, and 2. So each one of these returns a list, so make sure you have the brackets. Okay. All right, number 2. This time we get to write a function. Write a function called roll dice. You can write that, the first part of it, real easy. It receives no parameters, okay, but returns a random number. Well, I definitely have to import random if I'm going to be using a random number. Return a random number for a 12-sided dice. That's kind of a cool dice. Hint, remember to use import. Remember that the range goes up to but not including. Okay? So we remembered to import random. Now all we have to do is return a value using one of the random functions. And we're using the random module. So we say random dot, and then we choose one of the functions. Now they're assuming that we're going to use rand range. Could use rand int, but we'll use rand range. Rand range acts kind of like the range function, but instead of giving you a big list of numbers, it just randomly gets one from that list of numbers. So we want it to be 12-sided dice, random number. So we want a random number from 1 to 12. So if I say rand range 12, that will give me a random number between 0 and 11. I want it to be from 1 to 12, so I just shift it by 1. So if it picks a 0, it would be a 1. If it picks an 11, it would be a 12, and anywhere in between. It just shifted up by 1, and that would be a good solution. Okay, another possibility. Okay, you could have said option 2. Could have said return random dot rand int. That's another random function in the random library. Rand int, this one needs 2 numbers. And it will give you a random number between 1 and 12, including 1 and including 12 as possibilities. So 2 different ways you could have done that. At least two different ways. Okay. Now, I gave you 2 quizzes, really. They weren't very different from each other, actually. I think quiz 9, 8, and 9 kind of are the same, so it's just you get to do the same thing twice, really. Let's see. We have a new list again. I starts at 0. The I has to be less than length. That's the same. But this time, it's just a teeny bit different. This time, we're going to do numbers while the number at that position is greater than the value. On 8, it was less than the value. On 9, it's greater than the value. But the same thing happens. We append the number. We add 1 to I. This one uses the fancy new way to do it. We'll talk about that later. This is just the shortcut for this. I equals I plus 1. The shortcut is I plus equals 1. Just a shortcut. All right. So we can deduce from learning about it in quiz 8, we're going to be returning a list. And we're going to look at numbers that are greater than x. So in this one, we give this list to nums. And this will be x. So we look through here. 7's greater than 6. Good. So we'll add that. 8 is greater than 6. We add that. 9 is greater than 6. We add that. 6 is not greater than 6. So the while loop ends and we return this list. Okay. Next call to mystery. Nums list is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and the x value is 3. So this time, well, same thing. 5 is greater than 3, so that's going to get added to the list. 4 is greater than 3, so that one gets added. But 3 is not greater than 3. So it will return the list 5 and 4. Okay. Very similar, almost exactly the same as quiz 8, except for it was greater than x this time. All right. This function is almost exactly the same. Same name. Roll dice. No parameters. This time it's an 8-sided dice. So import random. And there's 2 ways you could do this. You could return random.rand range of 8 plus 1. So we shift 0 to 7 to 1 to 8. Or you could have done the rand int function and just said 1 to 8. It's a little more easy to read sometimes than that. All right. So essentially the same quiz twice, but just teeny differences. I thought I'd throw them both at you. Go ahead and study what you did and correct your tests, and I'll collect them and give you points if you corrected them, and bonus points, or points for how well you did, and bonus points for correcting it. Hope you guys have a fun holiday, and we'll see you soon.